All right, Coach Duffy, can you start us off with an opening statement?
Sure. Kudos to Loyola. I thought Danny and her staff and players just had tremendous effort today, did a great job. They came off a couple tough losses, and I thought they were a confident group, extremely tough, executed really well. So just kudos to them. And, I thought that today was a really good game for us. I mean, it's not going to be always as fluid and perfect as it was on opening night, and I think there's going to be a lot to take from this film. And I really talked to the team in the locker room just about, falling in love with the process and trying to improve on some things maybe we didn't do quite so well this afternoon. But, in every game, there's always going to be positives. There's always going to be big plays. I was teasing them that the crowd was quiet because we didn't have as many maybe as exciting plays as we did the other day. But a great learning experience for us. Wins are wins. And, for the first week, I think we have a lot to kind of hold our hat on and really get back to work at the same time.
All right, questions?
Coach, the lead stayed pretty stagnant for a lot of the game at about 10 to 12 points. What made it so that they could made it hard for you guys to kind of pull away, make that big run?
Yeah, it was a little bit of a game of runs at certain points, and I thought we had some good momentum in that second quarter to maybe turn the tide a little bit, and then they hit a couple big baskets. And it was just hard to get much flow going on either side. And, like I said, just every game's going to be a little different with their pace, and they were trying to go late into the shot clock and really execute, and I thought they did a very nice job with that. Their two inside kids are extremely good. They're going to have a phenomenal conference season, I think, if those two kids can stay healthy, because they can do some damage inside. So, just not maybe as free-flowing as we thought, and but that's really good when you're a non-conference right now, to really be able to adjust and figure out lineups and what you got to do to kind of create those runs and manufacture points. Sometimes it's not going to be as smooth as you always think.
Mark?
What was the reason Freeline didn't dress today?
Yeah, she's out day to day, and that's all we'll comment on with her.
So is she hurt, I guess? Or?
That's it. She's out day to day. I'm not going to comment on her medical side.
So it's a medical thing, then that's not.
Mm-hmm.
I was curious, these first 5 games all at home before you have to hit the road the rest of the month, are you looking at them kind of as a group? You say, okay, by the time these 5 are over, I want to see my team evolve in this way or that way, or you're kind of looking at them as a group at all in terms of improvement?
Yeah, I think so. I think, you got to look at every game in its own entity in some ways. But I think, with, 7 new players and 6 returners, you're working a lot through rotation. You're working a lot through roles. Practice for us is so important with just our emphasis on, our defense, our rebounding, and then getting our flow with offense. So, when you go out non-conference, you're trying to kind of choose how to play different styles as well. And so I think that's been really good. Like Towson was very different than Loyola. And then we'll go back to work on our third opponent. So, the early non-conference games at home are, you want to get a little confidence. You want to really kind of iron out some things. And I think, man, both games this week have been really good with that. Our film session, even after Towson, was, just super positive and beneficial to say, hey, we got to be, working on these couple things. And then you shift gears into a very different style with Loyola, and you got to adapt to that too. So I really love that part about not only the first week, but the first few games of the season.
You guys had a 14-0 run to start the second quarter, turned some defense into offense. Mm-hmm. What do you feel like changed after that first half or first quarter?
We made a couple adjustments, and then I thought we had a hard time executing some of the adjustments. And so, which, again, when we talk about, when you look back at it, you're like, hey, how can I communicate better to them? How can they be connected within their 5 and their huddles? Because we were trying to make a few adjustments off some of the things they decided to run. And then, early season with scouting, like you have a very small sample size. Like the day before when they played LaSalle, LaSalle played almost all zone, right? And so you didn't maybe get to see their full package, and you're going off last year and all that. So it's good for me and our staff to be able to figure out what can change the tempo a little bit. We only gave up 10 and 6 points in the second and third quarter, which I thought was really good. So as much as it felt kind of like a slug match, like you still only gave up 10 and 6 points, which is, solid. And kept him under 50.
Carly mentioned their physicality. I mean, what can you say about their physicality? That's not.
I think we knew it, that, especially 10 and 11 inside, we're going to be able to seal and duck in, and just even the rebounding. And it kind of got a little bit contagious by the other ones, just being physical. I thought 12 did a really good job too of just causing some havoc. So again, I think a little bit you have to kind of figure out how to manage that physicality, and then you got to also avoid it by executing a little better, setting and using screens a little differently. And that's why, again, like I can't reiterate this early season stuff of like, I look back at the film, was it physicality or was us not guarding a certain action rate? And I think that's the great part about this early matchups of kind of finding those answers when we dig in tonight on the film.
Tucker.
Mackey had a career high 11 assists.
Was it a career high? Good.
Yeah.
I felt like she had about 20, but 11 is good too.
What have you liked about
Sorry,
her
Tucker.
play? All good. What have you liked about her play through 2 games this year?
I mean, Mackie's being steady for us. Her pace has been good. She's finding people. One of the things we talked about with her this season is her point production. Sometimes she's going to have a lower scoring night but have 11 assists, and then vice versa. She might score a little bit more, and her assists might be down. So I think she's really taken ownership of that, of every game kind of figuring out what that's going to look for her, and I think she's doing a great job. 5 rebounds on that. She probably wants a couple of her finishes back. She's a phenomenal finisher. But overall, I thought to get those 11 assists and only 3 turnovers is great.
Thomas.
What particularly did you like about your own defense, particularly when it came to limiting Loyola from beyond the arc?
I think they had a game plan to pound it in because they shot a decent amount of threes their first 2 games. So I don't think it was anything we did. I think it was their emphasis on what they wanted to run and what kids they wanted to get the ball to. They have a couple kids who can knock down some threes, but their choice was to run their sets a little bit more and work their high-low and work some downhill attacks.
Mark.
I was curious with Wenzel and Baker, were you guys working on certain aspects of each of their games during the off season and preseason that you kind of see paying dividends so far in the early going there for the season?
I think, Carly and Karis are both, 2 extremely versatile players, and, they got a ton of experience last year. And I think one of the things with either of them, we said, okay, your versatility is great. When do you use it at different times? Carly started off hot from, hitting threes, and then she ended up going downhill in the second half a little bit more and getting fouled. So just that pulse of when to take things from their bag and use them is really good. And then I thought Karis, she's always been an inside-outside player. She can shoot her three. She can score in that mid-post. She can come off screens. And they're still evolving with that. But I think overall, they're extremely versatile with how we can use them, and I think you saw a lot of that today with both of them.
Any final questions for Coach Duffy? In the back.
Hey, so defensively you had a great performance, but turnovers, you led with 16 ahead of Loyola's 15. How do you limit those?
I thought some of our turnovers were just a little bizarre. Like, a few of our passes, I was like, whoa, what are we doing? So I'm glad I'm laughing now because I probably wasn't laughing in the moment. But, yeah, I just thought just a little bit of our accuracy. I thought, honestly, things we worked on that Loyola was going to do, I didn't think we executed great with our passing. And we have, I think, a very, very good passing team. I think we can find people. But our reads were just a little bit off and, give Loyola a little bit of credit on that for sure. But I think some of those turnovers are just kind of weird. Like, the ball felt like, I'm like, that had to be tipped. And the ref was like, nope, it wasn't tipped. And I'm like, man, that's just a really not good pass. So, some of those early on, I know Carly was getting a little frustrated at a couple of them. We needed that little stick 'em on our hands a couple times. So very strange, some of our turnovers, but we'll clean it up.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, guys.